Hi everybody, this is Lara at pureelliottwave.com. I am going to update Solana today with you. And just a reminder, my list of markets to analyse that people have requested is currently closed to everyone but long-term members of my subscription because I need to work through that list for my own personal sanity. I updated this one not that long ago, just over a month ago. So like Litecoin and Solana, I did about the same time, I think. So this was my wave count. I was expecting that a cycle degree second wave correction had ended here. I just want to calculate the depth of this. This is a 90% correction of cycle wave 1. It doesn't look that deep because of the scale. This is a semi-log scale. But cycle 2 has corrected 90.2%, so just over 90% the length or depth of cycle wave 1. That is absolutely well within a normal expectation for a cryptocurrency. So if it's not over at this low and we see one more low, I would expect that would be it for cycle wave 2. So let's have a look at the daily chart, and this is where I left the analysis last time. I checked the subdivisions of cycle wave 2, particularly intermediate C. I want to see if this new upward movement subdivides as a leading diagonal. And I'm going to label it an incomplete. I think maybe we'll see minor wave 1 could be over here. Okay. Does it fit as a leading contracting diagonal? This will fit for most cryptocurrencies. No, I want to have that here. No, go away. I'm checking the wavelengths. 3 is shorter than 1, 5 is shorter than 3, 4 is longer than 3. I don't want to see 3 over here because then that would be truncated. That's not going to work. If I see 3 over here, this is the problem. Minute C would be truncated and by too much. So what if it was like this? And what if 2 is an expanded flat? And then could this fit as a leading expanding diagonal? That could be over here. Checking the wavelengths. 3 is longer than 1, 5 is longer than 3, 4 yes is longer than 2, so the wavelengths work. And the trend lines, they just don't work that well. And again, I don't want to see 4 over here because then my minuet C would be truncated. No, it has to be there, and the trend lines just aren't working perfectly. Okay, it meets Elliott wave rules. It doesn't fit perfectly with the trend lines, but I think that's the best we're going to get. I think minor 2 could be an expanded flat correction. Yeah. Okay, so let's calculate. Actually, let's see. I just want to see, am I viewing this? Yes, semi-log scale. So the logarithmic function of the Fibonacci ratios or retracement levels, what would that be for 0.618? That would be the absolute minimum expectation for minor wave 2. So I'd expect it to get down at least to 32.67, probably deeper than that. The second wave correction in a new trend for every cryptocurrency chart I've ever looked at is usually very, very deep, usually in the 80 to 90% range of the wave it's correcting. I think we might have this up here. Let's calculate the depth of B in relation to A so we know what kind of flat we're looking at. B is 1.09 times the length of A, so this is an expanded flat. An expanded flat requires B to be a minimum of 1.05 times the length of A. There's no maximum length for wave B within a flat correction. There's no rule stating it can't be longer than any particular length. There's a convention within Elliott wave that says when your B wave is more than twice the length of wave A, then the idea should be discarded based upon a very low probability. Doesn't violate any rules though. So let's calculate A is 1.618 the length of C is 1.618 the length of A. That would take price down to 28.3165. That'll be my target. So for Solana, I'll expect a little bit more downward movement. Target 28.3165, where minute wave C would reach 1.618 times the length of minute wave A. That's a reasonable target. I'm also just going to quickly calculate what it would be 80 to 90% the length of minor wave 1. The length of minor wave 1 is 21.03906. 80% the length of minor wave 1 would bring price down to 30.268, 90% 28.1642. So this target for minute C to end at 28.3165 is nicely within this very common range for a second wave correction early on in a new bullish trend for a cryptocurrency. So that looks like quite a reasonable expectation. Let's have a look and see if the technical analysis still supports the view that I had last time I analysed this over a month ago, that this low is likely to be sustained. Let's look at it at the weekly chart level first. At this low, at the weekly chart level, there is a hammer candlestick pattern and a bullish engulfing candlestick pattern. The bullish engulfing pattern does not have support from volume though. At the weekly chart level, this was 12 billion, whereas the previous downward week 13.9. That's okay. We don't always see volume strong immediately off sustained lows. These 2 weeks here, week beginning 17th of July and 24th of July, we are starting to see some push from volume pushing price higher. This bearish engulfing candlestick pattern, the last completed week, the volume is 8.8 billion. The previous upward week, 8.3 billion. So there is push from volume pushing price lower in the last completed week. So it's concerning there is a lack of volume on this bullish candlestick pattern, and now there is push from volume on this bearish candlestick pattern. But we do still have strongest weeks within recent movement were upward weeks. On balance volume made lows with price, no signal from on balance volume. ADX slightly declining, not indicating a clear trend at this time frame at this point at the weekly chart level. RSI did not reach oversold at the low. There was no bullish divergence. It got quite close though. RSI has never reached oversold on the weekly chart level in the history of this particular market, but this is the lowest it's gotten, the closest. So that I would read that as bullish. If we do see one more low, I'd be looking for bullish divergence between price and RSI. Money flow index has reached oversold this week. This is hidden bullish divergence. Money flow index has never reached oversold before, so I would read that as very bullish. Now that conditions are that extreme to the downside, I would expect a trend change sooner rather than later. Stochastics back in neutral territory. ATR declining throughout that bear market. Let's look at the daily chart. At the daily chart level, we have some bullish long lower wicks off this low, and this is a bullish piercing pattern. And here's a hammer candlestick pattern just a few days after the low. Upward movement here. Here's a bearish engulfing candlestick pattern. This possibly could almost be a shooting star. I'd need to calculate the length of the wick. It should be at least twice the length of the real body. It looks like it might not be long enough. These are bearish upper wicks, however, so with a bearish engulfing candlestick pattern here and bearish upper wicks, it's unsurprising we're getting some downward movement. Let's see how much there's going to be though. This bullish piercing pattern does not have push from volume, but the next bullish session is a strong bullish engulfing candlestick pattern. It fully engulfs this prior real body, and this does have push from volume. This bearish engulfing candlestick pattern at the daily chart level does not have push from volume. It's not so important for a bearish candlestick reversal pattern to have push from volume though, as it is for a bullish candlestick pattern to have support from volume. So this isn't so much of a concern for the bearish case. Strong volume on this session the following day after the low. So here's the low here, 26.06, 14th of July. The very next session up off the low, this is the bullish candlestick pattern, and it does have push from volume. So we do see support from volume off the low at the daily chart level, and strongest sessions within this movement so far, upward sessions. On balance volume has no range that it's just broken out of, so it's not giving a signal. There doesn't look like there was any bullish divergence at the low between on balance volume and price. ADX is above 15, it's rising. It's coming up from a low level below both DX lines. It's telling us that at this time frame, at the daily chart level, there is a downward trend in an early stage. That's bearish. At the low, RSI reached oversold and exhibited quite strong bullish divergence at the daily chart level. After reaching fairly reasonably oversold, still in neutral territory, there's a bit of room to go for this downward trend before RSI reaches again close to oversold. Money flow index also at the low exhibited double bullish divergence between price from this point to these points. On a closing basis, price has moved lower. Money flow index has not made corresponding lows. That indicates weakness in that downward movement for price. That divergence is bullish and supports the view that this low could be sustained. It's in neutral territory now. There's plenty of room for this current downward movement to go before it gets into oversold territory. Stochastics is oversold, but when the ADX tells us the market is trending, we use RSI and money flow, not stochastics. And a little bit of an increase in ATR with this recent downward movement. There is strength in this downward movement, so I don't think it's done yet. But it does look like this low back on the 14th of June is fairly likely to be sustained. I would judge it for Solana not as confident as I am for other markets that I've analysed, other cryptocurrencies. They have a much more bullish look off their lows back in June. For Solana, I would judge it maybe 60 to 70% likely that this low is going to hold. I still think those are pretty good odds. Even if we do see a new low below this point, back on the 14th of June, if price does make new lows below that, I would expect it won't be by too much and it won't be for too long. And I personally would take that as an opportunity. I think I've already bought, this is one I've already bought, and if it does make a new low, I would be buying again. Okay, that's it from me with an update for Solana, and thank you all for your support on the YouTube channel, and thank you so very much for the support of all of my membership at pureelliottwave.com.